Count on me. You're gonna have good old Rob to talk you through all this. Two, hello, check. Check, two. Miriam, thanks for the 3 months. I appreciate it. Thank you, Miriam. How's it going, folks? How's it going, chat? What's up? If Rob were Mexican, it'd be Roberto Rodriguez, the director of one of my absolute favorite films of all time, Desperado. Desperado really fucking rocks. How are you doing, Chad? It's nice to see you. Finally cooled off here, but can't have the window open because it's too smoky. I guess that's the way it goes, huh? That's the way it goes. Desperado does rock until you're in the theater with your dad and the sex scene starts. Always awkward. Always very awkward. Those experiences. I remember one of my favorite movies, White Men Can't Jump. You know, I saw with both grandparents and my mom, and was always awkward in those moments. Me and my two best friends and my dad. Hell yeah. There we go. El Mariachi is better. El Mariachi is great, obviously, in terms of like what he was able to accomplish on this extremely flimsy budget. I just love Desperado, though. I mean, with working with the bigger cast, a bigger budget, what he was able to do with that, phenomenal. My first time watching Pulp Fiction was with my dad. Of course, me too. Yeah. That pawn shop scene, we all remember. Going back to Desperado as well, I think Salma Hayek in Desperado, is that that's a serious question, is that the best anyone has ever looked on camera? Really, Antonio Banderas and Salma Hayek, both in that movie, are just like incredibly hot. I think it's maybe the hottest two people have ever looked on film throughout all of history. You could make a strong argument for that. Most embarrassing sex scene with Jerry Maguire on the tour bus with my high school choir and our teachers. That sounds like a lot of fun. That sounds really great. Wonderful, wonderful times growing up and watching these films with teachers and parents and grandparents. Always a fun experience for everybody. Friday the 13th with parents was great too. Well, those are fun as well because you got ultra violence and sexual content as well to make everyone really uncomfortable, you know? Hello, Blurp Blurp. What is up? My husband's company was bought by an NFT company. Oh, cool. So that means it's in great financial shape, great hands. You don't have anything to worry about. Sorry, I don't mean to make light of it. I don't mean to make light of it. That may be a potentially scary situation. My husband is now going to be paid entirely in images of apes, which is in many ways better than money. Who needs to get paid fiat currency when you can get paid in images of apes? Who needs it? And folks, if you don't mind, I'm just going to turn my fan on. It's already warm in here. It's warm today. I'll just be one sec. Best part of Jerry Maguire is when the nanny hands Jerry a tape of Miles Davis and John Coltrane at Newport in '58. Two titans at the height of their powers. I haven't seen Jerry Maguire for quite some time, I must admit. Is it worth a rewatch? Is it saccharine 90s end of history pablum, or is it worth a rewatch? It is Cameron Crowe. It is like Tom Cruise, and like when he was like really in the height of his prime as a movie star. It tugs on your emotional heartstrings, but quite effectively, you might argue. If you skip right to that scene, yes. September used to be the first month to fall, and now it's the hottest, most humid month where I live. Goddamn climate change. I kind of feel the same way, Diego. September is no longer fall. September is like the last month of summer now. Does it feel a little bit like summer has shifted a little bit? Like summer, it didn't begin in May, but like May was like when the sun came out and is warm. Wow, and I feel like...
Okay, Rob. Seriously, wow.
I feel like summer has shifted over like a month. Now summer is June, July, August, September. Blurp blurp. Thank you very, very much for 10 gifted subs. Thank you for that. Oh my goodness, how generous. I really, really appreciate that. Blurp blurp. Thank you. You got that ape money. You're throwing around your ape money like this. This is crazy. And now you have all the, of course you have all the emotes as well, which is just as good as currency as well. Show Rob the money. And remember folks, it is Subtember. If you want to support this program, there's no better month to do it. Batch subs on sale and upscaling subs from 1 month to 3 or 6 month also on sale, and new subs as well. There's no better time to do it to support this program if that's what you want to do. And if you do, I appreciate it and I thank you. The tiny images are better than apes. I unironically do agree with that. The tiny images, you can at least use them somehow. You can use them in this chat and elsewhere on Twitch. What do you do with an ape? You just have it. You just store this image. And it's not even the image. You store a digital receipt for this image that certifies that it's exclusive. This image that anyone could screenshot or download or whatever. You get a link to an image. He's probably going to quit. It makes him feel awful. Well, I mean, like, I think there's more morally shady situations you can have in a workplace environment. I think the question that I would have is like, is this like sustainable? Is this going to be like a financially sustainable situation? That's probably the concern that I would have. Like, you know, if it's just a bunch of rich guys throwing the money around, then like, you know, who cares? It's not like he works for like a weapons manufacturer or something, or maybe he does. I don't know. Hello, encouraging people. Hello, Max. Hello. Everyone's coming in. Everyone's bringing it in here. You know, I did a moment ago receive... I don't know how to even look at this. I received a request from Capri Sun Pappy to guest star. I don't know if that was like an accident or what's going on with that. That's not something that was planned. We both can't work for sus companies. It's no good. You're both working for sus companies. It's true. That's tricky. I don't work for a sus company slinging around subs for the Twitch.tv corporation. Nothing sus about that at all. It's all perfectly above board. Eating an onion pie. Hello, Dakidun. Eating an onion pie from Lidl's French theme week and should save some for tomorrow, but it's just so good. That sounds kind of nice. I just had it. I made a pork chop last night, and I had one of the leftover ones and I cut it up and put it into a sandwich just now for my lunch. It was pretty nice. Yeah, I don't know how it works with this whole guest star thing. Capri Sun Pappy invited you to guest star. Do not know how it works. Maybe we can try and sort that out. Is it a featured recurring role, a cameo, just a walk-on? I think it's like a walk-on. It's like when someone, like when a guest star comes in like one of those sitcoms and everyone cheers. Woo! Everyone cheers when you walk on. To give you lines, they do need to pay you. I only accept union rates for these kinds of guest starring opportunities, to be clear. I take this shit pretty seriously. Hello, Sam. What's up? So I'm trying to maybe purchase a car. I talked about maybe I'm on a car journey right now, trying to maybe purchase a car of some kind. Making some progress there. It's something I kind of have to put together quickly. Something I probably should have tried to accomplish over the summer and did not, and I'm a little bit regretting that now. But trying to quickly figure that out. I think my top prospect right now is a Honda Fit. I may be purchasing a Honda Fit. 2009, I think? 2009. Honda Fit. That's what I'm leaning towards right now. What do we think about that? Dr. Awesome says those are solid. I almost got one of those for my last purchase. Ended up going with a Civic hatchback. Love the Civic hatchback. That's the kind of car I learned to drive on. It's a standard. A standard Honda Civic hatchback. That's the car I drove when I was a teenager. It seems good. I really don't know a lot about cars. It's got less than 200k on it. It's like talking to the guy. It seems to be in good shape. I can do a test drive. I think it's affordable unless there's some kind of like hidden costs or fuckery, which I guess is a possibility as well. Yeah, no Canadian EV, unfortunately. No Canadian, one of our many Canadian manufactured EVs. It seems the Kijiji Genie, and I'm getting it off Kijiji as well. Under 200k is decent for a 2009 car. That's what I'm telling myself. I've had my red 2003 Civic hatch for almost 20 years now. That sounds like a great car. I would love to have one of those cars. They are built different, Alexandro. So that seems like a good prospect. I don't know. I'm going to try in the next couple of days to figure that out. Because I got to do a lot of commuting this year, and I've realized now that doing this car sharing thing is not going to get it done. It's not going to work. If you go high mileage, it's got to be Honda or Toyota for sure. I did look at a couple of Mazdas as well. I don't know how we feel about Mazdas. I looked at a couple of those as well. Inquired about a couple of those. I've always liked the look of those cars, but don't know much about them. A Cybertruck, of course. Mazda. I have a 2016 Mazda 3 Sport. I was able to buy new because it was 0% APR at the time. That sounds like a pretty nice car. I've had 2 good Mazdas so far.
You can count on me. You're gonna have good old.
Just got another one. Once
talk
they
you
give up
through
on the
all
rotary
this.
engine, they were good.
I'm
Okay.
a Toyota Camry enjoyer of long standing.
All right. Praxid, thanks for 29 months. I'll keep that in mind as well. There does seem to be a lot of somewhat affordable options in the area where I am, so I should be able to find something. What I'm going to get is a Cybertruck with the Canadian flag, a big Canadian flag decal with like Mounties and some moose on there, and a waving Canadian flag. Cybertruck. That's what I'm going to have. Toyota Camry, Honda Civic heads. Well, that's it. It's like, I think the Civic was my car that I was thinking about getting, but this Fit is enticing. Don't forget adding Justin to it. Exactly, of course. Obviously. Obviously, he would be included as well. So we will see. Pontiac Aztec, Walter White style. There we go. And classic 1999 Pontiac Aztec. Putting ground effects on my mom's Accord station wagon. Hell yeah. Got the LEDs. Three front seats. That's what everyone wants, right? That's what everyone wants in a vehicle. Let's cram some more people up there. The lights underneath make it go faster. Exactly. We all know this. This is basic science. Alexandra says neon over LED. Okay. That's good to know. Did you get a car? No, but I'm making some headway in the car issue. I'm making some headway. I'm hoping to have that resolved soon. Because again, I got a lot of commuting I have to do this year, and it's not going to work doing this kind of car sharing situation. Mounting a neon Budweiser sign. There we go. Cops love that, actually. Cops love that. They're like, they see someone that's like, that's a responsible driver right there. Let's not harass that person. The neon Budweiser sign shows how much they care about drinking responsibly. We're making incredible progress from the point of view of buying a car. Exactly. We are. This would probably be an automatic. I can drive manual, so maybe I could get a manual. but it would probably be an automatic. I think the same people said that there was like a 2012 one available that was a standard. Maybe that is something I could explore. I don't know. Whatever car you get, you need to install a custom Soviet anthem horn. No, it's going to play the DPRK choir version of the Soviet anthem. Every time you hit the horn, it goes for the full 2.5 minutes. The full 2.5 minute rendition of the DPRK symphony, playing the Soviet national anthem. You should get a lowrider, maybe not the best for these Montreal winters, but think of how cool you'll look. You got the bumping thing, it goes the lifts or whatever it is. The hydraulics, that's right. There we go. I would look so cool. I would look so cool doing that, obviously. It's my first day picking up my son from his new school today. I'm a little kind of nervous about that. Like I said, once I think I get a car, the commutes are not going to seem like as big of a deal. It was totally okay with the summer. But yeah, it's my first time coming to get him at his new school today. So little alarming, little nervous about that, you know. This whole situation with him starting at his new school has been like on my mind a lot for months, and like over the last week or two, you know, it's scary. It's a scary big change for him. It's a scary big change for me. But I'm looking forward to seeing him. I haven't seen him in a couple days, so I'm really looking forward to having him back here. We built a really cool Lego chemical factory the other day. Because he had a bunch of like Lego vehicles and stuff that were like half built and like all kinds of like loose shit. And I just ended up just like kind of taking it all apart and putting it in a big bin. So now he's got that classic kid thing of having like a big, just giant bin of loose Lego that you can just like make stuff out of. We made a really cool chemical factory with like a vat. There's like a vat of chemicals, and there's like a little sluice gate that goes out into the water where the various people that fall into the chemicals can get mutated and deformed, and then they get flushed out into the river. Indoctrinating his son into the petrochemical industrial complex. Well, I've made him clear that this is a Donghua Jinglong glycine factory, the highest grade glycine you can possibly get.
You can count on me. You're gonna have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Hello, Husker. And thanks for the gifted sub, Husker. I appreciate that. What's up? Little Rob yearns to work in a chemical plant. I don't know if he yearns to work there, because his understanding of chemical plants is that they're just these like extremely dangerous factories filled with open containers of like sizzling acid and chemicals with rickety catwalks above all the vats. This is his understanding of like how these factories are. Every single day you're just like facing death nonstop. Precariously making your way across these rickety, rusty catwalks that can collapse at any time. Maybe not in Canada, but that's pretty spot on for the US. Exactly. Once you get rid of that ugly red tape. You get rid of all that red tape, regulatory red tape, unleash the innovation of the private sector to churn out mutated supervillains. And then you have an excuse to dump billions of dollars into law and order and giving cops tanks and assault rifles and stuff like that. Little Rob yearns to work in a Mike Rowe style factory free of woke health and safety standards. Exactly. All it does is limit these industry titans, limit their innovation. Seth Rogen has a movie called American Pickle he might enjoy with pickle vats like that. Seth's ancestor falls into one. That sounds kind of interesting. We can maybe take a look at that. Red tape is preventing various types of cancers from thriving. Exactly. It's really unfortunate. We don't have enough of that. We don't have enough microplastics in our system, in our bodies. I'm often talking about this. I need more microplastics. I need more chemicals. We need more cancer. The human lifespan is way too long. It's putting a strain on our private healthcare system. The solution? We're going to drastically increase the numbers of microplastics and chemicals and other harmful contents in our food and in the air we breathe and all this stuff. Instantly alleviating a huge, instantly opening up a huge space in our healthcare system, which is right now is devoted to end-of-life care. We take that end-of-life section of your life down from like in the 80s down into like the 60s, then it's just opened up for everyone else. All of a sudden, it's a lot of more opportunities for everyone else. Remember when we had asbestos hot water heaters and you took out 3, you probably got kids within 5 years. Those are the days, exactly. When men were men. You drink solvents, you can melt the microplastics and harmlessly pee them out. Exactly. They cancel each other out. Everyone knows this. Everyone knows this. Why do chemical plant workers need PPE? Do you know how much overhead we'd save without it? Think of the shareholder profits that are being missed out on with this obsession with safety and protective equipment. And our poor shareholders. Our poor struggling shareholders are just barely able to get by. They want to build new wings on their homes and put indoor swimming pools filled with expensive tropical fish, salt water. And they've had to cut down the gigantic saltwater aquarium swimming pools filled with sharks and exotic creatures half the size. They wanted a full size, and now they've had to downscale to half the size. Think about that. Is this the kind of world you want to live in? This is Joe Brandon's America. This is Justin Trudeau's Canada. Dare to work without health and safety regulations. It's the saying that I'm always talking about. I personally like the days we pumped ungodly amounts of leaded fumes into the air that measurably damaged the brains of 2 whole generations. But what we did to make up for it was put all those people in positions of power in politics and industry, though. That's the important thing. We made up for their brains being damaged by these leaded fumes by making sure they had full control over our society and economy. To say thank you. We could have had sharks with laser beams attached to the freaking heads, but no, the EPA went woke. Sad. It's a sad state of affairs. We need to get children in there to mix the chemicals with their bare hands so they can have spending money and learn work ethic. What is the problem with that? We're just giving them participation trophies. No, I said shark, St. Lotus. That was a microphone thing. I'm glad we're all on the same page on this. I'm glad we all agree. I'm glad we're all in agreement over this. The removal of lead paint is the biggest corollary to the drop in violent crime rate. New paint more effective than more pigs. But let's still keep giving those cops billions of dollars anyways, though, just to be safe. Even though there's no real connection between the amount of police and the funding of police versus like crime that's happening. There's no real connection to that. Police don't really stop crimes from happening. There's no real evidence that proves that shows that they do. And even when a crime is committed against you, you call the police and they're just going to show up and like roll their eyes and like be weird about it and be an asshole to you and sometimes murder you. Usually if you're a black or brown or otherwise racialized person, indigenous person in that case, or your dog. Yep. Washington, D.C. is overrated. I didn't get to steal the Declaration of Independence like Nick Cage. Well, there's still time. There's still time to do that. No one says you have to give up just after one effort. You miss 100% of the declarations of independence that you don't steal, is how that saying goes. There's plenty of evidence that police steal more than actual thieves. No, it's good to have these multi-billion-dollar taxpayer-funded armed criminal gangs patrolling and controlling our cities. I don't see what the big deal is. It's good. It's good to do that. And I think, when you talk about America, this two-party duopoly, I think it's really good that both parties are in full lockstep about the need for this to just perpetuate indefinitely. It's really democratic. This is what a thriving democracy is, when both of your mainstream parties are just arguing with one another about how many billions of dollars to give these gangs of armed thugs roaming around our cities. Joe ran on 100,000 more cops. Now we have a top cop at the top of the ticket. It's wonderful. It just means that the policy is that good. I mean, people complain about bipartisanship. That's the really unfortunate thing. People complain. We're always talking about gridlock and these two parties never working together. Well, and when they do, well, we don't like that either. Well, what do you make up your mind, chat? Make up your mind. You can tell adding all those cops work because the fear of crime is diminished in the public significantly. Well, it's interesting because then, like, according to these conservatives, every single major American city and Canadian city is just this hive of like gang violence and like just totally dangerous, bullets flying around at all times, corpses lying on the street at all times, totally dangerous to go to. You want to stay out of those places because of wokeness has defunded all these police departments. Our local sheriff compared the advocates of LGBT rights as Klan members handing out pamphlets. By the way, a significant portion of our local forces are in the Klan. Yeah, let's not look at all, Dimitri, into the origins of the Ku Klux Klan in the first place. The Niners' first-round pick got shot in San Francisco on Saturday. The discourse around it has been just fine. Oh, I'm sure it is. I'm sure it's great. Every liberal I know is also scared of people walking in front of their house now, so it's actually gotten much worse. Yeah, just look at next door for like any neighborhood to try and get a sampling of the mentality of your average kind of liberal American or Canadian. I've lost hope that things will get better in the U.S. in my lifetime. Well, maybe things will get so bad in either Canada or the U.S., blurp blurp, that China will step in and will join the Belt and Road Initiative. And then things will get some infrastructure and stuff like that. We'll get some high-speed rail. Hello, Perfect Speller. Are they going to do an economic imperialism on our shit infrastructure? I hope they do. I hope they do. I hope they do economic imperialism to us. How's everyone feeling today? We're doing okay. We're doing okay. And remember, folks, if you're just tuning in for the first time, if you're a longtime community member, it's September. If you want to support this program, no better time to do it. No better month to do it. New subs on sale, batch subs on sale, upscaling your sub from 1 month to 3 or 6 month on sale right now. So please support this show if you can. Debt trap the U.S. by building nationwide high-speed railroads. Exactly. What do they just own the U.S. by building this level of infrastructure? Are you still physically threatening people who don't sub? Sometimes. Yeah, sometimes I am. Sometimes I am doing that, actually. We're buying Rob a car. Well, no, but I am in fact buying a car, and I do need income in order to do that. That is true. What you're buying is like supporting this program and this content that you like, that you find somehow informative or educational, stimulating, entertaining. You get the tiny images, you join the community. That's what you're buying. And then I am turning around and paying for rent, bills, food, possibly a Honda Fit. Rob only needs to threaten once, because once you're inside the friendship triangle, you'll never want to leave. Exactly. That's how it works. You know, one book I've never read is The Great Gatsby. I've never read The Great Gatsby despite being like a literature major, you know, in school. I've never read The Great Gatsby, and I just started that. I was influenced to finally read this book. I think the only F. Scott Fitzgerald book I read was Tender is the Night, and I really liked Tender is the Night. I've never read The Great Gatsby. I just started it. Looking forward to getting into that. Great Expectations. How is it? It's not all I hoped for. We could get a TRRS Honda emote eventually. We could. I'm reading Moby Dick for the first time ever, heavily enjoying it. Another American classic of American literature that I've also not read. Despite being a literature major and an ostensibly a smart, like well-read person, there's a lot of classics that I've just not ever read. Great Gatsby is not what I'd call an amazing novel. Why do you say that, PM Trio? The writing is beautiful. The prose is fantastic. Is one of my initial observations. Also interesting the way it like immediately gets into the kind of like proto-fascism of the American like upper crust ruling classes. And he goes over to visit his cousin's house, and is immediately in having dinner the husband's just going on and on about like an upcoming like great replacement and like racial supremacy and how whites invented all culture and everything like that. That was kind of interesting as well. Rob has never read the Bible. That's actually true. I've not ever read the Bible. Maybe I should read the Quran though. Yeah, some things never change in America. Exactly. The 20s, you know, it's the roaring 20s. Wonder if there's any similarities. Anyway, I'm just a chapter in. I'm gonna try and I've been saying for years that I need to start like reading more, so I'm gonna try and make a concerted effort to do that. The Roaring Twenties only everything sucks anyway. Yeah, we get all the fascism and none of the good stuff. Went from dinner parties to fucking Twitter. Exactly. Surely our business leaders aren't financing far-right movements in Europe again, because that would be crazy to do. Given the history that we know about that, it would be crazy to do that 100 years later. Right back into the same shit. Doesn't it seem like we are on that exact trajectory? Like, it really does, doesn't it? Man, the 30s are going to be insane. Some people are getting the good stuff, but an increasingly fewer number of people are getting all the good. They're hoarding all the good stuff from everyone else. Since we all know our history, that could never happen again. Exactly. Yeah, the robber barons are back. We're bringing it all back. Really fun. I mean, that's why we like to have this community. That's why we like to come together and talk about these issues, isn't it? Certainly any big car manufacturers would not get into promoting Nazi ideology. Exactly. That would be so messed up for that to happen again. Can't we at least have jazz or something too to balance it? Well, you can always listen to Steely Dan's classic 1980 album, Gaucho. We do have that. And I would love to bring back Art Deco as well. Wealthy industrialists with Nazi and anti-Semitic ideology. I know, it's crazy to think about. I'm so thankful that we moved on from that. But now you have this genocidal ethno-state that's like absorbing, like using this genocidal ethno-state as a way to deflect from this like genuine anti-Semitic views that people have. That's one thing that's different. It's a little depressing to see the upper crust of society really struggle to overtly maintain old school colonial shit rather than just like slowly adapt over time. That's not how we do it over here in the West. That's not how we do it. Also, the Nazis just won their first election in Germany since the war. Probably nothing to worry about. I love that the uncharted territory. It's uncharted territory for the German far right. I think it's charted. I kind of think it is charted already. It's like extremely charted. And Dakadoon, this is true. Can we not bring back the socialist revolutions and the USSR but leave the other stuff? I think this is true, Dakadoon. China is in better shape than the USSR was last time, but a little bit less internationalism. A little bit less internationalism and overt like anti-Western like military ideology, even though the West seems like desperate to force that kind of military confrontation anyways, which is kind of hilarious as well. It's disturbing how well this pattern is documented. Yes, it is. It is disturbing. that could be exactly why they are in better shape. I mean, yeah, as we've talked about, that was the whole, I think that was the whole gambit that we're seeing now behind the opening up of the economy. Making the West feel like they're on board. Making the West feel like they're on side. And then yanking the rug out from under us. They are cognizant of the failures of the USSR in the 80s and 90s. It seems that way, yes. They've learned the lessons of the collapse of the USSR and avoided a similar situation by going through this opening up process. They avoided the exact same fate. I prefer to just stand in the void. Fuck the rug. That's a good attitude. Roe and the Democrats passed a bill to stop Trump arming the Azov neo-Nazis in 2017. Then the Pentagon said, actually, they're good, and Democrats have supported them ever since. Liberals flipped on Nazis very quickly. Absolutely, they did. But the thing is, Putin bad, though. That's the main takeaway. That's the most important thing. Have the leftists in Germany consider that? Putin bad, exactly. Not enough people have considered it. We have to give these Nazis guns because Putin is even worse. How's that war going, by the way? How'd that all turn out? We've been a little distracted over the last 10 months. Is that going well, I guess? Ukraine's just on the verge of overthrowing the evil Russian invaders. Any day now it's going to happen. And they're going to get all that territory back. They're going to get Crimea back. Should be any day now. They're going to be able to wrap this up. On that subject, I found this tweet very interesting. On that subject, like this realization that's setting in. No, that's you. This realization is setting in for a lot of people. Sadly, Ukraine is learning what many other states and peoples have learned over the previous decades. The United States is not a reliable partner, ally, and almost never lives up to its rhetoric. Its foreign policy practitioners are a study in failure. But these are the exact people that were supporting this from moment one and being like, yes, U.S. support. These are the people that were supporting this war from the very beginning and being like, no surrender, no peace talks. Only NATO arms sales to Ukraine. That's the only option. Only escalation. And now these same people are like, oh, what a tragedy. Oh, shucks. What a tragedy. As Mark Ames says here, I don't ever recall this big Ukraine war booster warning Ukraine in 22-23 that the West was likely to abandon them because the US often abandons its proxies, which he now says is a well-known problem. If you knew Ukraine would be abandoned, why not push for peace in 2022? It's a great question. It's a really great question. How many times have we given examples of why you should never trust America? There's a century worth of evidence that anyone who has like a basic cursory understanding of this stuff could be able to tell you. And this whole thing about, well, it's their sovereignty. They're being invaded. They got to protect their sovereignty. Again, there's no sovereignty. Is being stripped. It's like been turned into this like neoliberal shock therapy testing ground, being totally stripped for parts. All their public resources privatized. You know, they've been completely subjugated by the West, and this idea that they're sovereign was never true. And it's also true that the U.S. is still sending them billions of dollars worth of weapons with no actual effect. They don't often abandon, they always abandon. There's just some that they haven't yet. Who's been saved by the United States, says Fidel. Great question. But also it's all the old stock versus Israel gets the new shit. And it's such a tragedy. An entire generation of people in Ukraine have been just wiped out now. For what? For what? No, seriously. Why? It's like over 100,000 people in Ukraine have been killed now? Like what has been the purpose of that? And yet all these people on Twitch and Twitter and all these different social media networks being like, yeah, supporting this from moment one. Yes, Russia bad. Send them weapons so they can go after these Russian orcs. What has been the purpose of any of this? None of that needed to ever happen. My parents didn't talk to me for 6 months because they were so into it at the beginning. I mean, that was a scary moment, right? Joey's telling, because you see what happens to people even that you know or trust, smart people, critical thinking people, when the propaganda button is pressed, and they're just like, it's literally like that NPC meme, just like the switch gets flipped in their brains. Some of them just slinked back and have been trying to stream again after hanging out with Azov. Yeah, and people who criticized me, criticized yours truly, for taking this like radical stance that we shouldn't be fucking involved with this. We should never have been involved in this, and in fact, it wouldn't have happened if we hadn't been fucking around in Ukraine in the first place. What's up, Malakas? Is Malakas becoming an official like TRRS like lingo? Not killing people, the radical position. Not arming, again, if you're on the left, not supporting NATO. Not supporting NATO proxy wars. You know? Is that crazy? Is it that crazy of an opinion? Is that crazy of an idea? When you're on the left to not support NATO proxy wars?
We simply use the computer to mark up the size of the account.
Dimitri, thanks for the 145 bits. Sub Malaka, says Dimitri. Like, listen to him. Listen to Dimitri. Remember, folks, it's September. It's September. There's no better time to support this program and subscribe to this program. New subs on sale. Batch subs on sale. Upscaling a subscription from 1 month to 3 month or 6 month on sale. No better time to do it. And I'm on my grind. I'm on my grind this month trying to make some stuff happen on this platform. So if you can, please do subscribe. Two Malakas, one war crime. Right, folks? No better time to support this program. No better time to subscribe to this program. Malakas and Gooners. That's right. The last week of the month, you get a free sub when you gift subs. Oh, that sounds nice. That sounds like a good deal. Malaka Harris. Okay, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. I like that.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Perfect Spiller. Thanks for the gifted sub. NATO is like a club of people that look after each other. Propaganda aimed towards children from something called the Children's Newspaper, Denmark 22. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Which is funny because that's what most like adults that support NATO continue to believe. They have a childlike understanding of this. It's just a group of club. It's just a club of different nations and peoples, and we're all just watching out for each other. That's all. That's all it is. Hey, Adrian, how's it going? No girls allowed in NATO. That's what they say. NAFO. What an embarrassment that was. And still is. Best friends just like the Little Rascals. It can't be a coincidence that Kamala and Malaka are anagrams. I don't think so either. Sadly, NAFO is still there. They just got moved to the Israel desk. That's it, yeah. The NAFO conference, exactly. We had like mainstream politicians putting their dog avatars and everything. Insane. Didn't even get a spot at the DNC because they're too weird. I mean, that's the ultimate example too. You know that there was appetite for that. Did they even mention Ukraine? I'm sure they must have. It's just crazy how much that's been dropped. The darker the skin in our presidents, the more drones end up in my homeland. That's how it works, yeah. It's historic. It's a historic thing to be a part of. Normalizing liberal and progressive warhawk factions. Cool stuff. The most, what is it Kamala said? The most expansive and lethal fighting force in the world. Oh, good. Great. The Senate can pass bills to support Ukraine but not end gun control. Exactly. You get to use more gun. I mean, that's the thing. More guns everywhere. More guns domestically. More guns floating around internationally as well. Peace through joy. Another school shooting just happened in Georgia just now. Well, that's pretty scary. I hope it's not as horrific as some of previous incidents that we've seen like that. Like that's the best we can now hope for when it comes to America and these kinds of school shootings. All cops are Uvalde cops. The far left doesn't give up their guns. That's true. And the whole psyop of the Sandy Hook psyop to take away the guns, which they went through the whole like process of like doing this psyop and this false flag shooting, but forgot about that second part. You forgot to actually follow through on the no guns thing. They did the first part, this like highly coordinated fake false flag event, and then they forgot to like do anything with that. You see Sam Sater and his big brain take it. I saw something about it, just like you have to vote for Kamala over the Green Party because she might be 1% better on Gaza than Donald Trump. I think it was something like that. Sam Sater, a guy I have a huge amount of respect for, someone I look up to, someone that I admire. But this is just like the brain rot that sets in, I think, when you start thinking about electoral politics like this. It's the inevitable result. Oh, they might do 1% less genocide than the other guys. It's like, great. That's like the limits of the liberal imagination, you know? It really is. That's the best you can ever hope for. 99% Hitler. It's so explicit in this election, isn't it? Stein going to get at least 5% in the polls this year and going to be our nadir. I mean, this is something we can talk about. We could look at that like AOC clip where she was talking about the Green Party. You can talk about the Green Party all you want, call it like a grift, or they only show up every 4 years to raise money. They don't do anything, whatever. They just siphon votes away. If liberals and Democrats wanted people to vote for them instead of the Green Party, they would like adopt an actual agenda, or like not even adopt an agenda, but indicate that they were willing to fight for that kind of an agenda to bring those people in. The idea that Green Party voters are just automatic Democratic voters if they don't have that option is just completely asinine. You know? It's a protest vote because people are just like, my views aren't being represented in these mainstream parties, these two mainstream parties. And people act like this is like cheating somehow, or it's like not fair. I went a bit hard on Sam in the Discord, but honestly, he kind of deserves it. They're going to run the same line of logic in 4 years, and everything will continue to slide further right. It's the same every year, every election, Old Dutch. It's as long as it's been 20 years I've been paying attention to this, and it's the same thing every election cycle. It's the same arguments. It's just I think the arguments are even more absurd right now because we're seeing the like contrast, and we're seeing these kinds of like the reality of it, the results of it. I'm so glad Michael was on that show and was speaking truth for a long time, and he helped me a lot. He was fantastic on there, and that's why, look, I love Sam Sater. I think he's great, honestly. But that's why I think it was good to have Michael's voice on there to like articulate that kind of viewpoint, especially when it came to like internationalism. I saw they're already prepping to blame Russia for the election. They're already sanctioning them. They're sanctioning them ahead of time. I think abstaining from voting is a totally legitimate strategy when a genocide is being committed.
Good afternoon and good morning, everybody.
Like, if that's not going to be the thing that makes you say, like, I'm just opting out of this, like, what is it going to be? Rye, thanks for the 8 months. I appreciate that, Rye. And yeah, I agree, Lodane. Let's be civil when we're talking about friends of the show. I often get raids from Majority Report. Majority Report for a lot of people has been a really crucial stepping stone. I think they do a lot of good discourse. You know, I love Sam Sater and Emma and Matt Leck, who's the producer on Majority Report. I think he's fantastic as well. I think we can and should talk about this, the limits of the liberal imagination and the way this like electoralism like does this thing to your brain where you end up making these arguments. Like, let's talk about that. But let's not be dicks about it at the same time. Spiritually, I can't have any more blood on my hands. Obama droned my friends and Biden bombed my friends. I voted and paid for it. Like, at some point, you just have to draw a line if you care about imperialism and foreign policy, you know? And you see this cycle play out over and over again. You might have been able to make an argument that Biden was okay on these foreign policy issues, but Gaza has completely undermined anything that you might have said. You could have pointed to the reduced number of drone strikes. You could have pointed to the withdrawal from Afghanistan. But now they're just as violent and bloodthirsty as any American administration in history. Remember when Democrats were pro-immigration? Those Halcyon, is it Halcyon? I don't think I've ever said that out loud. Those beautiful times, those beautiful days, all those years ago in 2017. Halcyon. Thank you, Lodane. It means idyllic and calm. There's a Xanax-like drug named it, mentioned in American Psycho, and I named a planetoid that once. Oh, that's cool. And think about so especially think about this shit about Russia and the election and everything in the context of like Venezuela. The idea that Russia is trying to, like, let's look at the wording that's used, trying to manipulate U.S. opinion. But like when the United States government openly puts its finger on the scale or its thumb on the scale for one person in an election and openly tries to manipulate other countries constantly, like what do we call that? Like it's actually crazy that they do this kind of stuff. We're trying to so what if Russia does try to manipulate U.S. opinion? Like seriously. Like let's skip ahead and say like, oh, like no, this is not going on. This is totally made up. Let's say it's going on, and Russia is trying to manipulate U.S. opinion. Why isn't Russia allowed to try and manipulate U.S. opinion? Why not? Why isn't the country of Russia allowed to put a certain viewpoint or perspective out there and try to get people to agree with it or change their perception on things? The thing that the United States does all around the world and has for decades and decades. Why is that bad? Why is it bad for Russia or China or Iran or Nicaragua or Venezuela or DPRK or Cuba? Why is it bad for any of these places to try and like influence Americans' opinions? Why is that bad? What is happening in every single U.S. embassy on Earth during foreign elections? It's a great question. Let's look at this news hit.
Breaking news. The Biden administration taking a series of actions to target what they allege are attempts by Russian-backed actors to manipulate public opinion here in the U.S. ahead of the presidential election, according to two senior U.S. officials. Joining us now is NBC's Ken Delanian. Ken, what more have we learned?
Jose, this is being described by our sources as a whole-of-government action designed to target Russian propaganda and disinformation aimed at interfering in the 2024 election. It is said to include sanctions by the Treasury Department, law enforcement action by the Justice Department, and one of the focuses is on RT, formerly known as Russia Today, that network of Russian government.
Why can't Russia have a news media outlet in America? Why not?
That was flagged all the way back in 2017.
Like think about like Radio Free Asia, Radio Free Europe, all like the amount of influence and control the United States has over global media all around the world. Why can't Russia have a TV station in the United States that people can just freely choose to watch at any time? People can just freely choose to watch it like they watch any other TV show. The old days of RT was lit. And say what you want about RT. Oh, they're it's Russian propaganda. They're not critical of the Russian government. Okay, even if that's true. Is what American media company, CNN or MSNBC, are they giving Abby Martin a show and giving her an opportunity to talk about the crimes of empire, to talk about Palestine, to talk about a number of other like issues related to imperialism or these like important like leftist kind of issues? What American media network is doing that? Or Lee Camp, exactly. Like whether you like it or not, you can say like, oh, they don't criticize the Russian government. Okay, who cares? If you want to see criticism of the Russian government, there's no shortage of that. If you want to see a news station say Russia bad, you can tune into Fox News, MSNBC, CNN, CBS, NBC, like whatever news station you want, and you'll get that. You'll get criticisms of the Russian government on there. And CNN can have offices everywhere, but that's not state media, though, of course. That's not state media. It's independent private media that's funded by the arms manufacturing industry, which is funded by the United States government. There's this 1 degree of separation, so that makes it non-state media. We don't have state-controlled media. Also, all media must be critical of Russia. Exactly. I think Lee might have some wild takes sometimes, but I do not doubt he's genuine. He's paid for it. And like anything that I've heard from like Abby or Lee I almost said Lee Marvin, Lee Camp. Anyone that's worked with RT has said like there was no limit on what we could say. Like no one ever told us what to do. They were just like, here, do your show. And they did it.
by the U.S. intelligence community as a vehicle for Russian
It's voluntary
disinformation
stenography
and
for the State
election
Department. It's
interference. And
different.
at that time, the Justice Department required RT to register as a foreign agent. It remains to be seen exactly what actions the U.S. will take against RT today, but this does appear to represent an escalation in the efforts to try to purge the system of Russian propaganda and disinformation. What's interesting is that, look, the U.S. has been saying all along that not only Russia, but Iran and China, but particularly Russia, has been consistently trying to manipulate American public opinion with disinformation on social media platforms,
insane.
use of fake accounts,
RT
and
using
through
brat
RT, through
branding.
its state-sponsored platforms, as they did in 2016. The difference now is that there are mechanisms in place, particularly on the social media platforms, to try to stop and flag fake accounts before the influence operations spread too widely. So it remains to be seen what impact this Russian disinformation is having. But nonetheless, this is a stance by the Biden administration to say if you're violating U.S. laws and policies, we're going to come after you. And Attorney General Merrick Garland is expected to chair a meeting of the government's election task force today, this afternoon, with FBI Director Chris Wray and other officials, and he may have public comments to make about this effort at that time, Jose.
Just insanity. These guys talking about fake accounts while Brazil bans X for U.S. interference. Twitter. Let's make sure it's called Twitter still. Russians are notoriously, nefariously stating their opinions, and the U.S. will not stand for it. It's not allowed in our free society of free speech and tolerance. It's crazy. And again, this is what the United States has been doing around the world for decades. Like, it's in Jakarta method, like the role that like the CIA played in Indonesia, spreading black propaganda against the regime and and promoting this like fascist takeover, anti-communist purge through these media networks. This is what America has done around the world for years, throughout its entire existence. Always
John,
relevant.
You were in Vietnam for the CIA, and as I understand, you were up country. What years were you there?
Yeah, and all the
73 to
Zionist
75,
bots and
right after the
K-Hive bots
troop
that are out there as well
evacuation,
influencing
and I came
us.
out in the evacuation of April of 75.
How long were you with the CIA?
13 years. I was
What's
a
the
field
misinformation?
case
Where is it being
officer, served
posted?
in
Who's
Africa
saying
and
it?
Vietnam, and
Bucking
then
nothing for all three of those questions, but they're
eventually on
heroes
the
for standing
subcommittee of
against
the
it.
National Security Council in Washington.
You were in Angola, were you not?
Well, I ran the Angolan covert
Pelicans, I'm
action,
very excited
but
for
I
the
ran it
depressing
from
election.
Washington. These things are global, and as chief of the Angola task force, my office was in Washington.
When did you leave the CIA?
March 1977, I left to testify to the Senate and go public and try to write a book, which I did.
I'll get into that a little later. I'd like to talk to you about how what kind of experiences one has when one leaves the CIA and begins to talk. It must be very, very interesting.
They don't do that sort of thing anymore, despite admitting to it many times.
I think a lot of us have an impression that all the CIA does is gather intelligence. Intelligence is information, of course. Now, one would think that if you obtained information that was based upon fact, and if that is so, what did you do with it?
Well, one of the four principal functions of the CIA is to gather intelligence and ideally forward it to the president, the users of information, the policymakers, as they say. There are other functions, however, some of them more legitimate than others.
And remember, too, when China says, no, you can't have American media operating in our country. No, fuck you. That's bad. That's bad for that to do. I'm so sick of Russia doing gerrymandering, packing the courts at every level in the USA with their Russian judges and making bots say mean things about Last Jedi. Remember when China says, no, you can't operate your media in this country. That's bad. That's authoritarian. That's against free speech, free expression, free media, and all this stuff.
Is to run secret wars, the covert action that's written and talked about so much, like what's happening in Nicaragua today from Honduras. Another thing
Nicaragua, something
is,
where,
of course, it overlaps into the gathering of information. You have contact with a journalist, you will give him true stories, you'll get information from him, you'll also give him false stories.
Would you do buy his confidence?
certainly there's no Mossad bot
You
farms
buy
trying to
his
influence
confidence and
Americans
set him
online.
up.
If there were, we
We've
don't
seen
fund
this
it.
happen
Obviously
recently
not.
with Jack Anderson, for example.
That's
who
literally
has-
America funding a foreign nation to do psyops on themselves. That's how fucked up that is.
his intelligence sources, and he has also admitted that he's been set up by them. You know, every fifth story just simply being false. You also work on their human vulnerabilities to recruit them in a classic sense, to make them your agent so that you can control what they do, so you don't have to set them up sort of.
And when
you
other
know,
countries say like, hey, this
by
journalist in
putting
our
one
country
over
is a
on them, so
CIA
you can
spy,
say,
we're like,
"Here,
what?
plant this one next Tuesday."
What?
Can you do this with responsible reporters?
Yes, the Church Committee brought it out in 1975, and then Woodward and Bernstein put an article in Rolling Stone a couple of years later. 400 journalists cooperating.
I miss
with
when they
the
used to tell us
CIA,
like this. Well, yeah, you used to have
including some of-
CIA guys doing whistleblowing and things like that, and now you have CIA guys being invited onto mainstream media. That's the funny thing about this whole Stockwell interview, which we watch often because it talks about this process. There used to be this convoluted process to like spread disinformation. You go into the foreign press, you plant a story in like Angola, that gets picked up on the wire and it gets turned into media in the America. Now they just invite CIA guys right onto MSNBC to be like, Russia bad. And like they just come right on there in the news. They've eliminated that whole middleman, even though they're obviously still doing that stuff.
The biggest names in the business to consciously introduce the stories into the press.
Well, give me a concrete example of how you use the press this way, how a false story is planted and how you got it published.
Well, for example, in my war, the Angola war that I helped to manage, 1/3 of my staff was propaganda. Ironically, it's called covert action inside the CIA. Outside, that means the violent part. I had propagandists all over the world, principally in London, Kinshasa, and Zambia. We would take stories which we would write and put them in the Zambia Times, and then pull them out and send them to a journalist on our payroll in Europe. But his cover story, you see, would be that he'd gotten them from his stringer in Lusaka, who had gotten them from the Zambia Times. We had the complicity of the government of Zambia, Kenneth Kaunda, if you will, to put these false stories into his newspapers. But after that point, the journalists, Reuters and AFP, the management was not witting of it. Now, our contact man in Europe was. And we pumped just dozens of stories about Cuban atrocities, Cuban rapists. In one case, we had the Cuban
especially
rapists.
Any modern day stories that might be applicable there? Any narratives about rape or mass rape that's been used to justify anything at all going on?
Almost every newspaper in the country of the Cubans being executed by the Ovimbunda women who supposedly had been their victims.
But these were fake photos?
Oh, absolutely. We didn't know of one single atrocity committed by the Cubans. It was pure, raw, false propaganda to create
any modern day applications to this? No, they stopped doing all this stuff. Don't worry about it.
Babies for breakfast and that sort. Totally false propaganda.
And I want to look at this because remember what happens when other countries try to curtail America's obvious influence. So we're looking at the sanctions against Russia for disinformation and manipulating people. What happens when other countries take steps to protect themselves from American propaganda and influence operations? Well, lo and behold, America doesn't like it very much, as you can see from this segment from Voice of America, a media outlet also funded by
who lives in a
the
rural
CIA.
community in northern Nicaragua, gets her news when she travels to the city to buy groceries. Where she lives, there is little or sometimes no access to electricity, so residents rely on battery-powered radios to get the news.
We do not realize what is happening in the country. We don't know anything about how we are.
Hernandez and other neighbors in her community used to listen to Radio Darío, which was shut down a few weeks ago by the Ortega government. Radio Darío was one of the oldest stations in Nicaragua, a VOA affiliate, and one of the few frequencies that reached the western part of the country.
La noticia, amor. I like listening to the news.
These poor Nicaraguan villagers are being deprived of their news.
The station was shut down by Telcor, the state entity that regulates Nicaraguan radio. In a letter to the station, Telcor said that the station didn't meet
Voice of
what it
America
called
affiliate.
technical requirements to operate. Radio Darío director Aníbal Toruño denies that. He says the radio station was in full compliance with the law and that the move was political. Radio Darío executives say they will fight the shutdown of the radio signal. In the meantime,
They should tune
the
into
outlet
TRRS
continues
instead.
to broadcast its shows digitally.
This is not the end. This is the beginning of something new. This is the beginning of a new dimension. And this is a new way of doing radio. We are going to move forward.
In recent years, President Daniel Ortega has ordered the search and closure of the offices of dozens of media outlets, including Nicaragua, 95...
The U.S.'s ability to influence lawmakers in other countries is exactly why they're so worried, Canada as well, about Mexico's proposal to elect versus appoint their Supreme Court justices. And it's crazy how Canada and the United States are like, oh, we're so deeply concerned with this, with a sovereign foreign country making political decisions with the way their courts systems work. And we're like, oh, we're so concerned. What fucking business is it of ours whether we're concerned or not? It's insane.
5-year-old newspaper La Prensa and other outlets like Confidencial and 100% Noticias. In August of this year, La Prensa staff fled to the country after authorities accused its manager of money laundering, a charge La Prensa officials say is politically motivated.
Not only are a good number of fellow journalists on the street, but also the entire staff. People from the printing department, people from marketing, people from other areas, such as management.
The organization called Independent Journalists and Communications of Nicaragua says 16 reporters left the country in the first 2 weeks of August. There are no newspapers being printed inside Nicaragua, and the few media outlets reporting on the country are operating either in hiding or from outside the country. Ortega has denied the attacks against the media and has accused critical press of lying. In the meantime, neighbors in this rural community in Nicaragua continue to search for a radio station that provides news about what is going on in their country. For Houston Castillo and Donaldo Hernández, Cristina Caicedo Smith, VOA News.
So it's interesting, right? I feel like I say this often, but this asymmetry when we talk about countries that are protecting themselves from outside interference and foreign influence, specifically coming from the United States, and the way that we talk about that. But when the United States is so alarmed with Russia and China and Iran and all these countries having this kind of interference in their country. Like, I guess if there was no double standard, it would be one thing. If America just limited the ability of Iran and Nicaragua and Bolivia and DPRK and China or whatever to influence their country and didn't also at the same time do that thing exactly around the world, it would be one thing. And we could say, okay, they're taking steps to protect themselves, just like China does, just like Nicaragua does, whatever other country. But that's not what they're doing, though. There's this total double standard. We're allowed to do it. We're allowed to own and operate media establishments around the world. We're allowed to operate think tanks and NGOs around the world that are promoting our viewpoint. But anytime anyone does this to us, it's this big national security crisis. The think tanks are a big part of it as well, right? And look at this.
The media sharing agreement between the Russian news agency Sputnik and Nicaragua was announced by the Nicaraguan Communication and Citizenship Council.
Can't do this,
This
though.
group manages the television, radio,
They kicked
and
out
information
American
portal stations
influence
in the
operations,
country.
and they're making
The
deals with
statement says
Russia.
the
Can't
collaboration
have
is
that.
needed to defend the truth in the face of media manipulation and hate campaigns promoted by the United States and European countries. During the signing ceremony, the director of international cooperation at Sputnik called Western and independent media in the country informative garbage.
Sí, esa ha sido una afirmación que ha hecho el representante.
They call it garbage and fake news, all information from independent media.
Nicaraguan officials say the other goal is to
Is it
exchange
independent, though? That's
content
the
and
question.
promote mutual understanding between Russia and Nicaragua. But Christopher Mendoza, director of the only organization of independent journalists in Nicaragua,
And again, this is all
says
coming from
their
Voice
real
of
goal
America,
is to
which is a
keep objective
CIA-sponsored outlet.
journalism out of Nicaragua.
We are becoming more and more like North Korea. That is the commitment of the Ortega Murillo regime, to not tell a single reality, to tell a single truth, making use of the media.
It's only when you have Western-backed
The agreement
media
was
is when you're
announced a month
free.
after Nicaragua closed more than 20 local radio and television stations. At the time, the government said the stations did not meet the technical requirements to be on air. Free press organizations say that has left Nicaragua no independent media, only state-run news outlets.
These are not news media, they are propaganda, which violates the constitutional right of every person to receive information.
This is the second media agreement that the Nicaraguan government has signed with a foreign country. In December 2021, it signed a deal with the China Media Group. For Donaldo Hernandez, Cristina Quecedo Smith, VOA.
So it's different. It's different when we do it. When we influence other countries, that's freedom. When we limit the ability of other countries to influence us, that's freedom. When other countries do the same thing, that's authoritarianism. That is anti-press freedom, all this stuff. And yeah, talking about foreign influence, well, you've got like Mossad troll farms basically on all our social media trying to influence everybody. Again, the United States government sponsoring a foreign country, an intelligence service, which then creates foreign propaganda and directs it back towards our own citizens. It's cheap for the CIA to make radio stations. FM reach around 30 to 60 miles depending on the landscape. I'm bad at math, but I'm pretty sure the country could provide national radio and do it with about a dozen stations, maybe more due to mountains. Any government that cannot do that needs to look at how well their leader is living. And remember, folks, if you're part of a foreign influence operation and you want to support this program, and you want to support freedom of the press as well, and my journalistic integrity and my analytical integrity, please subscribe if you can. 20 subs to go to get to the goal. Subs on sale this month. It's September. Batch subs on sale. New subs on sale if you're a new community member, you're a lurker, you're a new chatter, got brought here by the algorithm, maybe. Or if you want to upscale your sub from a 1 month to a
good old
3 or 6 month. All on sale right now. Support your local Canadian blogger. That's right. And thank you, Lil Baby Beef, for the 2 gifted subs. Keep this going so you can scrape our data. Exactly. Exactima. Support Rob's guerrilla radio outpost on Mount Royale. That would be sick, actually. That would be so cool.
Breaking news.
Whoops. Any other fine folks want to support this program?
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Here for the freedom of chat, TRRS trustworthy Rob.
Useless, thanks for the 32 months, Tier 1. I appreciate it. Thank you, Useless. We're halfway to the goal, folks. September. Is there any other fine individuals and heroes that want to support this program? You know, this is a great way. If you are one of these foreign influence operations, it's a great way to support independent media that's critical of empire, critical of the United States government, the Canadian government, the intelligence community, the military-industrial complex. There is no better way to support that than by laundering your gift subs through the Twitch platform. We do need to make the little number at the bottom go up. That's the only thing about this show, is that the little number has got to go up every day. You need that Randy Savage sound clip where he says, "We are friends." I should probably do that. Maybe that could be the 50 sub alert. I would gift, but this isn't a U.S. Army sponsored stream. Oh, but is it? Or, oh, but isn't it?
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Monkus 2 more months.
Oh, thank you, Lodane, for 46 months. Wow, it is 2 more months. That's hard to believe, isn't it? There's like an arms race to the first 48-month subscribers. Going to be Lodane. We got a couple of other contenders in that arms race. I really got to make the new badge now, too, I guess. It's coming up. Rob is simply another leftist Canadian who streams from Langley, Virginia. Did y'all yet hear Singh just ended the agreement? Oh, so are we getting into election season? Are we getting into Canada declines? Oh, God. I can't believe Jagmeet's still like in charge of the NDP. That's actually kind of shocking.
Today, I notified the Prime Minister that I've ripped up the supply and confidence agreement. Canadians are fighting a battle for the future of the middle class. Justin Trudeau has proven again and again he will always cave to corporate greed. The Liberals have let people
And that's why we've supported him for the last 5 years.
They don't deserve another chance.
Fighting for the middle class. Maybe we should be fighting for the working class. Maybe we might be doing that as well.
There's an even bigger battle ahead. The threat of Pierre Poilievre and conservative cuts from workers, from retirees, from young people, from patients, from families. He will cut in order to give more to big...
I'm still not convinced about the conservative majority. I'm still not convinced. I know it's a possibility. Maybe that's what's going to happen. I'm not at all convinced that this man has got the sauce or the juice to get it done.
Corporations and wealthy CEOs. The fact is, the Liberals are too weak, too selfish, and too beholden to corporate interests to fight for people. They cannot be the change. They cannot restore the hope. They cannot stop the Conservatives. But we can. In the next federal election...
I'm sorry, Rob, that's cope. It's not about PP. It's about Trudeau hate. Well, and there's plenty of that to go around. And you're absolutely right that may be the deciding factor in this election. Like, I could not agree more. I'm still not totally convinced that it will be, though.
Will choose between Pierre Poilievre's callous cuts or hope. Hope that when we stand united, we win. That Canada's middle class will once again thrive together. In Canada, we take care of our neighbors. That's who we are. I've embraced that value my whole life. I'm running for Prime Minister because together we can and will stop conservative cuts. We can deliver relief and restore hope. Fix healthcare. Build homes you can afford. Stop price gouging. It's always impossible until it isn't. It can't be done until someone does it. If we're together, nothing is impossible.
It's not going to happen, Jagmeet.
We won't let them tell us it can't be done.
It's not going to happen, sir. I'm sorry.
Corporations and wealthy CEOs.
I'm still saying that it's not going to happen.
It's the people's time.
He's really bad at these. Look at the charisma. The charisma just like comes right off the screen. I don't know. As I've said before many times, he's too nice. He's too nice. If we're going to have a successful left-wing movement in this country, it's going to have to be led by someone that's mean, that's willing to get their hands dirty, that's willing to like speak truth to power actually. It's not going to be through this like we all need to be friends and come together kumbaya stuff. You know? It's not going to happen. If that is ever... And I'm not convinced that it even can happen in Canada because of how deeply reactionary this country is and most people in it. I'm not even convinced that it is possible. I want to believe that someone could like put some kind of coalition together that could excite people. But it's not going to happen under this. It's just not going to. When are you going to interview Dimitri again? I don't know. It'd be good to do that. It was great to have him on before. How does Jagmeet have less Riz than Pierre? That put me to sleep. Exactly. Like it sounded like he was sleepwalking there. Like that's your getting out of the gate message? What was said? We're going to support the middle class, put an end to price gouging, affordable homes. Like, really, with all the issues that we're facing, like this is like the absolute best we can do rhetorically. Working class mentioned 0. Yeah. So yeah, it's going to be an insufferable election season here as well. We might as well get both going at the same time. Why not? Israel mentioned 0. Yeah. Was there any climate stuff in there? I didn't hear anything. Like, I think my dream platform for some kind of like actual left-wing coalition would be high-speed rail infrastructure, big national rejuvenation. Why can't I say that word? Project, national high-speed rail, nationalize the telecoms. Everyone hates their telecom companies. Everyone hates Bell. Every single person that works with any of these telecom companies fucking hates it. Nationalize the telecom companies. Cheap, plentiful green energy. And a transition for the working class communities that we rely on in our energy sector. Canada out of NATO. That one you have to be a little cagier about because that's going to piss people off. Yes, that would be the thing that you would do, obviously. You got to leave NATO sneakily, exactly. You can't lead with that, even if I agree with it, okay? Even if I might agree with it, you can't lead with it. It's going to be scary to people. That's one thing you just throw away at a Friday news conference after you get elected. Oh, by the way, we're leaving NATO. And in other news, we're going to have high-speed rail in the next 5-6 years because we're going to like really actually devote resources into this. Housing first as well. Not let's give the right number of tax breaks to real estate developers to build slightly more affordable housing. We're going to build with the state. We're going to get into the housing business. And we're going to build actually affordable housing. How about that? These are the things that I would like to see articulated in someone launching like what's supposed to be like a left-wing campaign in Canada. Land back as well is something that needs to be talked about. Like, I don't even think it mentioned indigenous rights at all. No, putting a stop to our broken police and carceral system. You just described Green's platform. The thing is, I don't think that matches with what I actually hear from the Greens, though. In Canada, especially. I don't think they're like an actual, especially under their current leadership, if someone like Dimitri Lascaris had won, they might be an actual credible vehicle for some of these ideas, but they deliberately did like sabotage that campaign. Anyway, yes, it's going to be an absolutely insufferable election season here as well. We need a Greek, exactly. We need a real Malacca. We need a tough Malacca. Does anyone know what happened to David Tavares? I don't know, no. But David, a cool guy, good streamer. Hope we see him again soon. Leighton was good, but we need an Ed Broadbent figure now. I think Leighton was good as a good speaker, a good public figure, someone that had charisma, but his program was all about just turning the NDP into another liberal party. That was the issue with Leighton. Don't take my word for it, take Dimitri's. Well, I would take Dimitri's word for it if he was the leader of the party, but he's not. That's the problem. I cannot vote for the Canadian Greens. Apologies. Lodin, you don't have to, you can do anything you set your mind to, okay? Mulcair truly destroyed any left tendency in the NDP. Yeah, he had a chance to win that election, and he allowed Justin Trudeau to come across like the left-wing progressive in that election. Which is a inexcusable mistake. Buy a cot, we're turning your apartment into a real studio. Hope the kid doesn't recognize the smell of weed. Hell yeah. We're doing this. It's the Rob you know and loves when I'm passing the bong and telling him to do the news. We can really take that Roz and Fraser relationship to the next level. The only thing I look forward to in the federal election is hopefully a town hall so I can go and yell at all my MP candidates in person. Well, that'd be fun. That would be fun. Oh, that's going to be so painful. That whole election season is going to be so painful. And it very well may end up with a conservative majority. It very well may. I don't want to downplay that. I'm not convinced that that's the inevitable outcome. That's what I'm going to say as an official Canadian political analyst. I'm not convinced that that's going to be the certain outcome, but it's definitely a possibility. Over under on us having a snap election this fall. I mean, it seems pretty likely now if this announcement. It seems pretty likely. I don't know what the over under is, but I would put money on the under on that. The funniest outcome would be a liberal minority. That would be funny. Yeah. That would be funny. I don't think it's off the table, frankly. I don't think it's off the table at all. As much Trudeau hate as there is. The question is, the anti-Trudeau vote going to actually propel Pierre Poilievre to a election victory? That's the question. I'm kind of hoping for a lib minority purely for the content. And politically, like in all honesty, even if we don't like the Liberal Party, it's probably the best outcome. Like, it's objectively a superior outcome to a conservative majority. The funniest outcome would be we have permanent elections because no one can form a government. That would be fun if we had a year or two of that. I would love to see conservatives have a collective aneurysm. They would freak out, all the convoy people and everything, all the I hate Justin Trudeau people. They would handle that well, I'm sure. I'm going to short the fuck Trudeau sticker market. We should get into that business. I should make TRRS fuck Trudeau shirts and start selling those. Maybe that could have some kind of subtle communist imagery on it. The TRRS convoy. I don't think Poilievre is likely to actually do much different from Harper or Trudeau, who largely had the same policy with a few tweaks around the edges. I think there would be definitely more bones thrown to this like extreme reactionary constituency. Like materially, would there be any difference? I don't know, but there certainly would be at least a surface level nod towards these kinds of groups. Do you have any input on the French political situation lately? I mean, it goes back to what I was saying about like election integrity and media disinformation and stuff. It's when certain countries behave in this way, we call them autocracies, we call them authoritarian. We send in the troops, we do our subversion and our efforts to overthrow these places, and then when our allies do it, it's like whatever. What is this? No problem. Oh, you're completely like almost overturning the election results that the majority of people that voted in that election wanted? Well, whatever, it's France, so it's okay. When that happens in Venezuela, it's really bad. It's just absurd. Justin on the front, Fidel on the back. The reactionary chats wouldn't flinch. That's true, yeah. You get all these guys wearing Fidel shirts. Do y'all Quebecers vote Quebec Green? Because Alex Tyrell is very similar to Dimitri. I could look into it. The last election, I voted for the Canadian Communist Party Marxist-Leninist, which is actually Hoxhaist. That's when I became a dedicated, lifelong supporter of former Albanian dictator Enver Hoxha. Let's see some Enver Hoxhas in the chat. Let's see some Hoxha posting. I don't understand that party. Like the Canadian Communist Party, Marxist-Leninist, they run people in every single election. They run people in every election. No one knows who these people are. No one knows where their funding comes from. You don't ever really see them or hear from them, but they're organized enough to run people in like almost every fucking riding in the country. It's so weird. Maybe it is from some old rich guy. Who knows? I'm not sure anyone understood my Hoxha inside man joke. I did not, Jay. That's why I didn't read it out. I didn't get it. Maybe I need to see Inside Man again. I was today years old when I learned how to pronounce Hoxha. Well, when I was on like The Breach during the last election coverage, I incorrectly pronounced it Hoxhiest. Hoxha, which is not how you do it. So I humiliated myself in a national forum. In Inside Man, the bank robbers play tapes of Enver Hoxha speeches to confuse the cops who bugged the pizza boxes. Oh, interesting. I'm a Haktuist. That's right. She's starting a podcast now, the Haktua girl. Used to be pretty common for Communist Party members to donate some amount to the party in their wills. Bet they invested a small bit of it as well and use it for campaigns. But that's the thing. There's the Canadian Communist Party, which does have this kind of like infrastructure. They've got offices. They have like a central committee, all this stuff. The Communist Party, Marxist-Leninist, no one, like they just don't exist except during election season. Feels like everyone has a podcaster now. Exactly. It makes me sick. Taking away opportunities from hardworking, roll up your sleeves, lunch pail podcasters like me. Some are even bloggers. That's right. These people need to stop taking away jobs from middle-aged work-at-home men. Thank you. Thank you for standing up to the true victims. And remember, folks, if you want to support this program, 16 subs to go to get to the goal. If you can, please subscribe. 16 subs to go. Batch subs on sale right now. If you want to give 5 or 10 or more subs, if you want to, you can do that. On sale. New subs on sale. Upscaling your subscription from a 1 month to a 3 or 6 month on sale right now. 16 subs to go to get to the goal. It's incredibly revealing the NDP ended their agreement after PP told them to, not after the government supported the genocide. Maybe that should have been the line in the sand. Maybe the NDP would have a little bit more credibility. Maybe the NDP would have a little bit more credibility if that's what they did. But they didn't really have all that much to say about that. Help Rob buy a tail wing to strap to his Honda Fit. It will be mine. Oh yes. It will be mine. Look, you tell me, Chad, does this man have what it takes to get something done? Did you get a Honda Fit? I'm looking into it, Old Dutch. It's a possibility. We'll see. It's a possibility. I see PP has tweeted, says Jugmate. He sounds worried. He should be. A great man once provided the antidote to the anger, hate, and division he spreads. It's love, hope, and optimism. It's not. I want more anger and division and hate. There's plenty of people to hate. This is what I don't get. We're not spreading hate. I think we should spread hate. There's lots of people that I hate. There's lots of institutions that I hate. And I think a lot of people agree with that. A lot of people are angry. People are justifiably angry. You know? I think we should lean into that. People are angry and pissed off, and we should support that and speak to this. Why are people angry and pissed off? Let's find the people that they're angry and pissed off at and put together a program that actually goes after these people. I'm tired of this hope and love and optimism thing. Yes, we should be optimistic. We should absolutely be optimistic, but this whole let's all come together and sing songs and hold hands by the campfire thing, this is not a way to animate people, in my opinion. Civility politics bullshit. Let's speak to people's actual genuine anger that they have. Thank you, Dimitri. I say more hate and anger and division. That's my platform. First, you've got to get mad. Exactly. Exactly. I hate normalizing amputated limbs. I couldn't agree more. That makes me really angry. It makes me really angry when our government supports another country that mass murders little kids and women and men and tens of thousands of people and bombs them and blows off their limbs and blows off other parts of their bodies. And I think it's grotesque, and I'm really angry when our government fully backs that and supports it. Remember that lady that yelled at Jugmeat because she thought he was Muslim? Now he's a leftist. She's a leftist because of the love he sent her. Exactly. She saw the error of her ways. People need a healthy outlet for the righteous anger at the fucked up state of the world. This is what conservatives implicitly understand. They harness this, and they harness this real anger that people have. People whose lives are getting worse. People whose material conditions are getting worse. People whose like bills are higher, whose houses are less affordable than ever. People whose future prospects are being destroyed. They take this anger and they direct it towards immigrants, and they direct it towards liberals and leftists, and they direct it towards feminism, and they direct it towards trans people. Why don't we have a movement that takes that real anger that people are feeling and directs it upwards at the fucking people that are doing this? Why not that? Not finding these scapegoats of people that divide people up into these different marginalized groups. Let's take that anger and direct it in an actual direction towards the people that are actually responsible for this shit. Liberals are specifically there to redirect it back down. And well, that's what our whole political system is there to do. Anyway, that's what I think about radical hope and optimism and respect and love. You have to re-educate the angry people because they love to lick the boots of their bosses. Yeah, but we can do that. That's political education. Like, we don't even need to have, I mean, we should have re-education camps, but we don't even need to have that. But we need to have people that are willing to try and politically educate people. This whole thing about being a politician and trying to appeal to everyone, which is what people in like the NDP or liberals try to do, you know? Don't try to appeal to everyone. Try and bring people into the fold. Try and explain to people exactly why you're supporting the things that you do. Usually when people are sad, they don't do anything. They just cry over their condition. But when they get angry, they bring about a change. I think from Malcolm X, I think that's a great quote. That's a really great quote. Bring in apathetic, unsupported workers. It's basically the you will be joyous approach. Can we have someone be a bit mean while also being constructive? We're so infantilized and politically illiterate. I just weighed in. I weighed in on the discourse. Jugmeat, come on, sir. Come on. Should call him Poo Poo right off the bat. Exactly. Really get the heavy hitters. Bring out the big guns. All you need to know about Canadian politics is that 2/3 of Canadians own their own homes, and they care about the property values more than anything because their retirement is tied up in that. Yeah, and that's why this like landlord class of political leaders aren't going to do anything about actually affordable housing, because it's going to fuck with the basically like the primary retirement policy of like most of this country, which relies on real estate just indefinitely going up forever. So that's why there's no prospects of the state getting involved in the housing business, which should have happened decades ago and used to happen regularly before neoliberalism kind of destroyed this. Yeah, that's going to just be really painful. Painful. We got 2 painful, excruciating election seasons coinciding right on top of each other. It's 2 most important elections of our lifetimes happening on both at once. How magnificent. You need our Nazi girl boss to step in. That would lead to a conservative majority. If that is what happened. Like I've speculated before, I do think it's possible that Trudeau might just like read the tea leaves and not want to like go out in disgrace and step aside for someone else to take the fall for him. So if the election kicks off, when does it happen? Was it 6 weeks? It happens fast because we have like a normal political system that's not a 2-year circus sideshow. It turns out you can do that. I think Freeland Shine is worn off with the collapse of the Ukrainian military. Yeah, and the whole applauding a Nazi Ukrainian guy in parliament, that's going to play well in those moments. Not that every other political leader wasn't doing that as well, but you can even vote count in an evening. I know. It's wild. And like every province doesn't have like different rules, and there's not this convoluted primary process, which is another circus sideshow. And every single primary is different rules and different things going on. Some of it is a caucus. What's a caucus? We don't know still. We don't know. But some of them are caucuses. I remember it well, Hildy Beast. This is the last election you'll have to vote first past the post. I remember it very well. Explicit promise from Trudeau to change our fucked up electoral system. That's right, the NDP is capitalizing on the wave of joy. Trudeau has been around forever. No term limits here either. What save us from this authoritarian, monarchic, fake democracy? The good old when the parties used to treat electoral reform as a campaign issue. I don't really remember it much further than that, Old Dutch. I just remember that election, it being a big focus, explicitly focused from Trudeau as well. And then that was immediately dropped. Now we got no term limits encouraging people. We live in an authoritarian dictatorship. It's a hereditary monarchy. A hereditary authoritarian dictatorship, folks. Under almost a decade under liberal authoritarian rule. This is what the Free Canada movement is all about. The policies are the same, but the White House gets new curtains. And the important thing is you measure them before the election, not after. Just looking for some other stuff for us to take a look at. I wonder why the NDP governs exactly like the Conservatives whenever they're in power. Probably just a coincidence, nothing to look into. I mean, here's the thing. I wouldn't say that it's exactly the same. And I think the NDP Alberta, like when Alberta elected the NDP as the government, was a great example of like the differences between these two things and the way that they tried to do a few like progressive economic policies, but everything was half measures. Nothing was put in place like permanently on a permanent basis. And then they like doubled down on being like the oil infrastructure loving party and tried to like win over these reactionary freaks into the fold by refusing to challenge the oil industry or the tar sands industry, refusing to organize any kind of just transition. And then they just opened the door wide open for another conservative majority to come right back in after. So it's like, they might have a few different economic policies, but they triangulate in all the exact same ways. And in the BC, obviously, and Manitoba, obvious examples as well. There might be a few differences in economic policy. They triangulate on law and order, on energy and all this stuff, which just like feeds into these conservative narratives and puts these conservative governments in power. Yeah, I would say they're comparable to liberals and not conservatives, but liberals are also very comparable to conservatives as well. It does seem like the parties are more and more similar as time goes on. I wonder if that's me aging or is it real? I think there's an element of truth to it. I think there's always been things about all the parties in our society that are bipartisan, but I do think there did used to be distinctions, especially with the NDP. The NDP used to have a kind of genuine kind of grassroots working class origin. And over time, all of that has been smoothed over. And I think this is what neoliberalism does, right? They're all capitalist parties. Well, they've always been all been capitalist parties, but some of them were like more interested in like that kind of like Keynesian economics prior to, the neoliberalism and the privatization of everything and the destruction of the working class, destruction of the union movement. There used to be a little bit of difference between they all support capitalism, but there was very different ideas about how these imperial spoils are going to be divided amongst people. The imperialism was always part of it, and this has been America and Canada as well. But there used to be some actual distinctions in how the government would spend money and how they would help people, like building housing, welfare, disability, these kinds of social programs, this kind of stuff. Like there used to be an actual space to talk about these things. There are fewer management trajectories for a capitalist imperialism now. That's being reflected in the increasing sameness of the parties. That's a good way of looking at it, St. Lotus.
How did a man charged with assaulting...
Excuse me. And the first thing I open when it's to open CBC, which is like the conservatives accused of being communist, is some like fear-mongering story about ISIS guy getting Canadian citizenship. What does AI say about Harris's polling? This is what's going on CBC. That sounds painful.
We're standing by, waiting to hear officially from NDP leader Jagmeet Singh and waiting to hear from Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, who's in Newfoundland and Labrador, to make an announcement on a school food program. But obviously, the news events of the day will change the Prime Minister's plans. We're standing by to take you all that live. We're going to bring in reaction from various party insiders and some pollsters. But joining me now here in the Power and Politics studio is our chief political correspondent, Rosemary Barton. So, Rosemary, there's been rumblings throughout the spring and throughout the summer that this might be revisited, maybe updated, maybe changed in the fall, but here it is, ended. What's your reaction to this?
Yeah, a little bit surprising, frankly. There was a conversation happening around the cabinet retreat last week about the state of the deal. There was a lot of confidence in the fact that the deal remained, both on the NDP side and the Liberal side. In spite of that, we're told that these conversations had started a couple of weeks ago, and it seems like part of the trigger for the beginning of this conversation certainly was the rail labor dispute and the fact that the government ordered them to arbitration, where Jagmeet Singh really felt that this needed to happen at the negotiating table. Jagmeet Singh's social media video, is out now, and he describes some of the reasons why he has decided to leave the deal. He says that the Liberals are beholden to corporate interests, obviously pointing to the labor strife there, and that the threat of Pierre Poilievre and the Conservative cuts is too real now for them, and so they need to move away from the agreement. I think that there was also, frankly, some tension inside the NDP caucus about how much longer this could go on. If we are, say, 13 months away from an election, 12 months away from an election, they need to start distinguishing themselves, obviously, from the government. There's a difference between getting all this stuff passed and trying to take credit from it versus being able to compare and contrast yourself to the Liberal government.
Okay, I'm told we have the video that Jagmeet Singh has put on his social media platforms. We're going to play that for you now. Jagmeet Singh ending this.
We need to see it again.
With the Liberals.
Today, I notified the Prime Minister that I've ripped up the supply and confidence agreement. Canadians are fighting a battle for the future of the middle class.
Jagmeet.
Justin Trudeau has proven again and again he will always cave to corporate greed. The Liberals have let people down. They don't deserve another chance. There is an even bigger battle ahead. The threat of Pierre Poilievre and Conservative cuts from workers, from retirees, from young people, from patients, from families.
I agree, trans women. He should have stepped down after the last election.
Give more to big corporations
Sleepy Singh.
And wealthy CEOs. The fact is, the Liberals are too weak, too selfish, and too beholden to corporate interests to fight for people. They cannot be the change. They cannot.
Yeah, I agree, Hildy, and it's been like 8 years of Jagmeet accomplishing nothing.
But we can. In the next federal election, Canadians will choose between Pierre Poilievre's callous cuts or hope that when we stand united, we win. That Canada's middle class will once again thrive together.
The middle
Canada,
class.
we take care of our neighbors. That's who we are. I've embraced that value my whole life. I'm running for Prime Minister because together we can and will stop Conservative cuts. We can deliver relief and restore hope. Fix healthcare. Build homes you can afford. Stop price gouging. It's always impossible until it isn't. It can't be done until someone does it. If we're together, nothing is impossible. And
it is impossible for this man to win this election. I'm going to say that right now.
Big corporations and wealthy CEOs have had their government.
It's the people.
I've had enough hope to last 3 lifetimes. I'm good.
Thank you, Moist Towelettes, for 42 months tier 1. I think I'm good too. Yeah. I think I'm all hoped out. I'm saying hate, not hope. That's my platform. the candidate of hope in Canada and joy
Okay,
in the
that
US.
is the social media
Exactly.
video released by NDP leader Jagmeet Singh announcing that he is, in his words, ripping up the supply and confidence agreement. Rosemary says the Liberals are too weak, too selfish, and too beholden to corporate interests to fight for people. They cannot be changed. They cannot restore the hope. They cannot stop the Conservatives. The next election will be a choice between Jagmeet Singh and the Democrats and Pierre Poilievre and the Conservatives. Interesting move, interesting characterization of the Liberals, and an interesting attempt to frame the choice in the next election, whenever it comes.
I mean, really, perhaps the kickoff to the campaign, right? Whenever that happens, because certainly this doesn't mean that we're in it. We're headed to an election imminently, but it could happen sooner.
Poilievre might be the easiest leader to hate the Tories have ever put forward. I agree. That's why I'm not convinced that the anti-Trudeau thing is going to propel them to any kind of victory.
When money bills come up, confidence votes come up, what they plan to do. I guess what has to be the part to look at here that they are going to have to convince Canadians to be believed is that they've just come to this realization about the Liberals in the past 24 hours or 2 weeks or whatever it is, because they were comfortable in this agreement for 2.5 years. It gave not only stability to the minority government, but it also gave them some of the things that they wanted. Remember, that agreement had very clear expectations, and some of those things have been reached or are about to be reached. So the government fulfilled its part of the deal, in my view, whether it be dental care, the beginning at least of pharmacare.
This is some guy, Rob Russo, some leftist based in Canada. I was turned on to this sick individual, and I found this.
Ugopnik, hello. Ugopnik Raiders, thank you for the raid, Ugopnik. I appreciate it. How is the Ugopnik stream today? The sicko Balkans have arrived. I can't even talk. The sicko Balkans are here. Oh boy, I'm Rob though. It's nice to see you. Please smash the follow button if you can. Please smash the follow button if you can. And I would say to our loyal viewers and chatters, it's September right now. We got some new community members. No better time than to give subs than right now to bring some new people, some new wonderful Slavic sickos into this community. We're talking about the inspiring situation that is Canadian electoral politics. I just want to talk about my platform. We got a lot of talk about joy in the United States. We got hope and optimism here in Canada. And I want to run on a platform of hate. I want to bring hate back to the left. I don't think we hate enough. I don't think we're angry enough. That's my position on this. No more joy, no more optimism, no more hope, no more like let's all come around the fireplace and sing a song and play acoustic guitar. No more. We're angry, we're pissed off, we're upset. There's plenty of people to hate right now, and I think we should be focusing on that.
We simply use the computer to mark up the size of the account.
Yes, Canada, worse Britain. We should take them back. Probably, yeah. Worse Britain is doing a lot, though, as well, because Britain is pretty fucking bad. But thank you, Gabriel, for the 100 bits. I'm glad you folks agree with me. I thought that the sicko Ugopnik chatters and raiders would agree with this platform. Hate, not hope. There's your slogan. There's your tagline. Who's with me? I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore. Anyway, we're just watching the rest of this segment, but once again, folks, if you want to subscribe to this platform, please do. If you're not following, if you're just new from this raid, or if you're new to the community, please hit the follow button and please sub if you can. It's September. We got batch subs on sale right now. We got new subs on sale. So if you're a new community member, it's on sale right now. And if you want to upscale your subscription from a 1 month to a 3 or 6 month, that is on sale as well.
The anti-replacement workers legislation, whether
In
it be
peak form,
housing
hootin' and hollering,
accelerator, there are a lot
exactly.
of elements to this deal the government has nailed down. I don't see the NDP walking away from things that are in progress. So bringing the government down, for instance, before pharmacare has been sort of put to bed, or the election bill for that matter. But the to-do list was essentially over.
Yeah.
And now, as you point out, the
I noticed no one followed through on the call to action to give subs as well.
Begins.
That's
but
smart.
these
It's a
new
smart way to
criticisms
assert
of the Liberal
dominance over me,
Party,
and I respect it.
are very much just new, right? And that's what they'll have to convince Canadians of, that they've suddenly realized that this government
How about
is
hope
not
with
the
hate
one that they were
characteristics? That
supporting.
works as well. That's nice. That's good. We got dual election season upon us. I'm excited. I don't know about you, but I'm excited. It's crazy how like Israel's basically announcing plans to just annex the West Bank as well, and like the United States government has nothing to say about
good
that.
old Rob to talk you through all this.
Serious sloth.
Horst Bethel, thanks for the 2 months.
You can count on me. You're gonna have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
And Anon as well. Thank you. Thank you for the gifted sub, Anon. Israel's just basically like, oh yeah, by the way, we're gonna annex the West Bank now. Nothing to say. The United States government, nothing to say about that at all. We're really fixated on these hostages though, but nothing to say about the West Bank being invaded and occupied and possibly annexed now.
One last final question. Yesterday, Netanyahu showed a map when he talked about the Philadelphia corridor. It has no West Bank. It has nothing on it. Is this kind of normal that he shows a map with just Israel on it?
But joy, though.
I'm not. I'm not going to comment on the.
I'm just saying, is that normal for you?
So I'm not going to comment on the Prime Minister's press conference. We have been quite clear about our position when it comes to Gaza, when it comes to the West Bank, when it comes ultimately to a two-state solution. Yeah.
Thank you.
Just no comment.
Yes.
That kind of is a comment though. We've been clear about our position. It seems like they're not really listening. Maybe you should stop sending them billions of dollars. What about that? Maybe if you stop sending them billions of dollars worth of weapons, they might actually listen to what what you've been clear about. We've been clear about our position on Gaza and the West Bank. Okay, well, they're not listening to you though. So maybe you could be more clear by not continuing to supply this government with billions of dollars worth of weapons, which they're using to drop on little kids right now. We've got no comment on the Wehrmacht's policy in Eastern Europe. Exactly. We've been very clear. We've been very clear that we support the good things and we oppose the bad things. We've been very clear about that. Next question. Next question, please. Great Dracula back from the beach, and Gabriel says, as a Romanian, I take offense to that. Dracula has better drip. Dracula was dripped the fuck out. That's true. This is like Dracula's nerdy second cousin. The bad things are unacceptable, and we will continue to do nothing to prove that we aren't accepting them. Thank you. This is the world's greatest imperialist and economic power. We're completely powerless to do anything about our closest ally and their actions, who we fund and subsidize.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Burgerland's military industrial capacity is far below what it would need to be to maintain its status quo, never mind make gains. The apartheid state is dooming itself. They're dooming the whole empire. There's something kind of, as horrifying as it is, there's something kind of like interesting about that, isn't there? They're dooming the whole empire. They couldn't even protect Ukraine. Look at what's happened in Ukraine. They've basically just given up. They've basically just given up in Ukraine. It's just this sink that they're just throwing weapons into and accomplishing nothing. And Gabriel, thanks for gifting a sub as well. First gifted sub in the channel from Gabriel Hellborn. Very much appreciated. Thank you. And they have the gall to say they want to take on China. Kamala Harris, the world's foremost and most lethal military fighting force. We're going to take on China this generation. No, you were not. No, you are not. You are fucked now. And it would actually be a pretty bold move while the United States military is preoccupied in the Middle East, which they thought they had sewn up. It would be a pretty bold move to go and nab Taiwan now. We're going to go ahead and grab that.
You simply use the computer to mark up the size of the account.
Seriously, how many times do they need to lose to gorillas to learn to stop? It's a great question, Gabriel. Well, I guess You don't need to stop, and thank you for the 100 bits. You don't need to stop, though, when you're just throwing money at the military-industrial complex. Even if you fail, you still win. That's the genius of being in part of the military-industrial complex in the first place. They love to lose. They love quagmires. They love long, expensive quagmires. That's great for the bottom line of all these companies. All it would take is a good swift kick to the side of the knee now to bring the whole thing down. And you know that there's people thinking about that, thinking long and hard about that. You know there's people thinking long and hard about that right now. The Americans aren't losing in Ukraine. The important thing is that the defense production is getting kickstarted with foreign aid money in anticipation of a Cold War with China. Yeah, and they're privatizing all of Ukraine's resources in the process. So you got a nice little kickback as well. You've turned whatever remains of Ukraine into this privatized neoliberal hell state, failed state. And you're getting some nice handouts to the military-industrial complex as well. So, twofold. Talk Tua Insurgents crossover when? I'm going to be the inaugural guest on the Talk Tua podcast. I was just ready to reveal this, and it was spoiled. It was spoiled by Lucid Fox. U.S. military-industrial complex is delusional if they think they can win a Cold War against China. I mean, or a hot war. We need Hunter back in the Ukrainian boardrooms to fix this up. It worked out so well the first time. I just want to get the people excited. Well, thank you, Lucid. I think the funniest way imperial collapse could happen is if somehow things popped off between Canada and the U.S. 1812 to retorch the White House boogaloo. Well, that'll happen when in their race water wars when we get officially annexed for our fresh water supply. And all our Canadian leadership and ruling classes just roll out the red carpet for them rather than actually doing anything about it. I think that's more likely what's going to happen. Rob spits facts on that thing. Wow, okay. There we go. I like that. I call him Fact Tua. Wow. We're really cooking here. We're cooking with gas here. Canada would install a red carpet at the border for sure. We would. Please come on in. Please welcome in. You ever seen that Vogue Yap quote about bad students? I don't think so. I don't think I have. By the way, folks, I should mention this as well. Not only can you support this program by subscribing and supporting the community, making the number go up, getting all the tiny little images, etc., you can also tip. If you want to send a tip, if you got $2, $3, $5, $10, $20 or more, I wouldn't complain about more either. If you want to send a tip as well, that's something that you can do to support this program. So there's a guy on YouTube who makes mecha in his garage, NYE Mechworks, who's a Tim Pool fan. The left needs its own DIY mecha designer. Couldn't agree more. Could not agree more. I should have a mecha. Instead of getting a Honda Fit or whatever it is I'm going to end up buying, I should go pick up my kid in one of those bad boys. He'd be the coolest kid in the school. A Honda Mecha Fit. That would be funny. Please buy Rob a mecha. Exactly. I don't ask for much. I used to own a Honda Fit. Highly recommend. Okay, well that's good info.
We simply use the computer to mark up the size of the account.
Dimitri, thanks for the 100 bits. I said with friends that the imperialists are bad students. Yes, we taught them the right lessons, didn't we? But they learned the lessons badly, although they're lessons of historical significance. The debacle in Algeria and Cuba, the stinging debacle in Vietnam. While these are events that herald and have contributed to the collapse of colonialism and also to the inevitable collapse of neo-colonialism, however, these bad students, want to repeat grades. Vogue, yeah, handing us our asses again. Pizzicata, thanks for the 1337. Thank you for that. Very much appreciated, Pizzicata, and everyone who supports this program through tips and bits and whatever else, and subscriptions. Whatever it is, I appreciate it a lot. And once again, we're only 12 subs to go to get to the goal, and batch subs are on sale right now. They are on sale right now. Brandon, thanks for the 333. The 333. Thank you, Brandon. Very much appreciated.
Hi, Rob.
Hello. Hello. Rob will still
You've
read
just
it at
become an
100
elite
bits.
member of the Friendship Triangle.
Oh, goodness. Look at this. Gabriel. Gabriel, thank you very much for the gifted sub. 5 gifted subs, excuse me. Thank you for that. I really appreciate that. Brand new community member, pretty much, and already instantly an elite member of the Friendship Triangle system. That's how easy it is, folks. That's how easy it is to rise to the tippy top of the Friendship Triangle system. An elite member. It's as simple as that. You too can rocket right up to the elite tier. Let's not beat around the bush. It is pay to play. Let's not obscure that in any way. I appreciate that again, Gabriel. And if anyone else wants to subscribe, please do. 7 subs to go. Help me make the little number go up if you can. It's a meritocracy, and you gain merit by gifting subs. Exactly. Brandon, you're back in school doing something very important. Please don't worry about it, all right? You've got a really important job, and we support you. You do not need to apologize for that. This is a good time to mention I've been thinking about trying to concoct a MechWarrior 5 TRRS fun day, just rocking over imperialist scum in the name of the Capellan Confederation. I'm not really caught up on the MechWarrior franchise, but I remember loving MechWarrior 2, like back in the day, in the 90s. I did it this weekend and my life is measurably better for it, and I love that for you. I absolutely love that for you. Mech 5 is not the best, but it's 4-player co-op, and that's good enough. Did you have the fancy joystick? I don't believe I did have the fancy joystick. I may have had a joystick. It was a while ago now. This is like, 30 years ago, so don't totally remember what my setup was at that time. I barely even remember how many years ago it was. I almost said 20 years ago, and it's like, oh, no, that's not true. That's not true. We lost a decade in there somewhere. Never played any MechWarrior. MechWarrior 2 was really cool and had a really awesome intro, opening animation. It was so cool. You should buy a 5-figure gaming rig instead of a car. I think you're right. Yeah. I think you're correct. I think I should do that. I think it would be a good idea to do that. Bang of the Sun Dugram is a good anime, and I encourage everyone to enjoy its 75 episodes of anti-imperialist goodness. Okay, here we go. You know how cool this was in 1995? This was so cool.
This is HQ to any available units. We have mechs down at
You can
Nav
count on
Gamma.
me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Duke Vulture,
What's
thanks.
up, Triangle Gang?
Thanks for the 3 months, Duke. Appreciate it. Thank you. Running on the Pentium MM6 processor. Probably a good old 486.
Cadet reports 4 summoners on site. Bandits are hostile. Repeat, bandits are hostile.
HQ, this is Alpha Assault. I'm on my way, bearing 025.
ETA 34 seconds. Alpha Assault, this is Bravo Cadet. I've got bandits all over me. Get down here.
Sit tight,
You can
Bravo
count on
3.
me
I've got
and
vision.
good old Rob to talk you through all this.
I must edge for another 120 days. I will then, and only then, receive my cum badge.
Thank you, Dr. Maggot, for the 32 months and for all the support. I appreciate it. Thank you. Very close. 120 more days till the exclusive 36 months, 3-year Pearl sub badge. Can't wait to get hunted by one of these when I can't make my nursing home payments in my old age. Exactly, except it's going to be controlled by like an AI. Citizen, you have not completed your latest nursing home payment. Annihilates you with a laser.
Evacuators out. I'm targeting systems damage. I'm in bad shape. Enemy detected. Crazy, 2 of them. Be on the line. Roger, I've got them. Targeting. It's got a lock on me. It's got a lock on me. Targeting.
Warning. Ammunition level critical. Weapons depleted.
Alpha Assault, this is HQ. What is your situation?
Sound blaster, exactly. Hell yeah. That shit was so cool. Oh my gosh. Citizen, you've used too much insulin by 0.2 milliliters. Prepare for execution. And then it like dabs on you after. It does like a Fortnite dance over your corpse. Come on now. Come on now, folks. Let's have some more hope and optimism. We don't need to think about a dystopian nightmare future like that. That would never happen. It would never happen in our wonderful free society. Dying for missing a subscription payment only to have your corpse be teabagged by a Gundam. Exactly. This is the future. This is unironically the future that liberals want. Were you a game magazine guy? If so, which ones? I'm trying to remember. Was it Game Players? Yeah, it was Game Players was the one that I read. I have a whole box of them still in my mom's garage. Which then became Ultra. I think it became Ultra Game Players. Oh, we'll have a lot of choices of nursing homes that we can get murdered in. That's the real freedom. Exactly. Thank you. Nintendo Power. I just wasn't really a Nintendo guy. I had a Sega Genesis. I had a Sega Genesis and then a Sega CD and then PlayStation 1, 2, 3, 4. And I did a little PC gaming as well. You were a gamer once. Look at you now, how the mighty have fallen. I'm still a gamer. I just completed, I'm just about to start Horizon Forbidden West. I'm just about to start Horizon Forbidden West. I just completed Frozen Wilds, the DLC from the previous game. I played Red Dead Redemption 2, played through that. DOS, MS-DOS for me. Big, real Police Quest 2 heads in the chat. I was a big Police Quest 2 fan back in the day as well. Did you finally complete RDR2? Yeah, there's some like other quests and other stuff that I haven't done, but I completed the main story though. A Sierra-style text parser game was recently released called The Crimson Diamond. That sounds interesting. The nostalgia DOS game that I talk about a lot on here that I used to play was Altered Destiny. Altered Destiny was really cool. About this boring nerd yuppie guy that gets sucked into this like fantasy universe through his TV. That was a cool game. Was Police Quest a point and click type game? It wasn't point and click because it was text. You had to use the text to like look around room and like you had to input text commands. Does anyone remember this one? Rise of the Dragon. That was a really cool like point and click PC thing, like kind of a cyberpunk thing. This was a really cool game. Anyone ever play this? I remember, but Doom 2 is the only game I could get into at that time. I played plenty of Doom 2, I'll tell you that much. Obviously played Leisure Suit Larry as well. It was very exciting for young Rob. Put on the cyberpunk style trench. Any hard-boiled cyberpunk detective. Log on to the old PC. I don't know. This game is really cool. I love the art style as well. This kind of like William Gibson style kind of cyberpunky universe. It's really cool. Cool game, just for some random nostalgia here. Pop your collar up on that trench, walk through the acid rain. You get some synthwave going. Walking through the rain, the neon lights reflecting in the puddles. Of course we played Full Throttle. Of course. That apartment costs $3,000 per month now, yes. Did you see they're doing a Neuromancer TV show? No, I didn't, but that's a... I mean, it seems like a no-brainer to do a Neuromancer adaptation. I don't even understand why it hasn't happened already. And I thought I was getting old. No, you found your place, Gabriel. You found your place, okay? This is the elder millennial section of Twitch, okay? There's all kinds of youngins and zoomers and young people rolling around on this platform. This is the platform for aging, out-of-touch people. You found your people. Apple TV is doing it. Good. That sounds like it might be neat. This feels cozy. It is cozy, and that's why people should subscribe. You should, if you're come to this community and it's your first time coming here, and this sounds like the kind of thing that you'd be interested in coming back to. And I do the show every single day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, barring certain events sometimes. But subscribe if you can. 5 subs to go. It's September after all. Only 5 measly subs to go to get to the goal, and a couple of brand new community members who I think need this in their lives. I will not be lumped into this old category. I have 3 more years to go before I'm 30. Well, Dr. Maggot, you're getting grandfathered in. If you're part of this community, you're old mentally. You got an old mentality. Even if your meat prison might not be quite as decaying as some of our other ones. All 20-year-olds in the chat are now official elder millennials. Yes. That's exactly right. Folks, Floofers, potential new community member Floofers, is looking for a sub, having some bank issues and can only use mobile for the subs. Is there a hero in the chat that wants to gift a sub to Floofers? And I see a couple of other prospects, people that fit in here, going to fit in here quite nicely.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Kingfisher, thanks for the gifted sub. Very kind of you. And now you can use all the emotes, all the tiny little images. Do you love me still says cry wanker. I'm going to go ahead and say yes. Marks and Recreation is the oldest millennial. I feel like that's me, actually. I feel like it's me. Who doesn't love a good cry wag? There's no better way to do it. My dad and mom were born in 32 and 52 respectively, so I was kind of stuck with an old brain. Well, that's exactly why you found your way here. That is exactly why.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Red Wizard, thanks for gifting a sub to Cry Wanker. Cry Wanker is going to fit in nicely in this community as well. A lot of talk about jacking off on this stream, frankly. I'm an ex-millennial because I remember things that Gen X remembers, like dial-up internet, pagers, and rotary phones. Well, I remember all those things too, but I'm 83. I was born in 83. So I'm a millennial cusp. I remember dial-up internet and all these things. I remember first going on the internet when I was like 12 years old. I remember the pre-internet life. When we used to ride our bikes around the suburbs and drink from the hose. All the people that are obsessed with drinking from the hose. Gwynny's 73. Oh, it's fine, Gwynny. It's fine. These Gen X people are obsessed with drinking from the hose. What was so great about drinking from the fucking hose? We drank from the hose. Okay, like, congratulations. We just stayed out all day. Our parents made us leave at 8 a.m. when the sun came, but the sun was up. We were not allowed back until it started going down. We just rode our bikes around causing mischief. No way of being connected to our parents. They had no idea of anything that was going on. No idea where we were, what we were getting up to. But you're Canadian 83, not American 83. It's practically the 70s. Okay. You don't get enough lead until you drink from the hose. Exactly. That's how you get your lead. It circles back to everything that we were talking about at the beginning of the stream. Before wokeness. Before the woke mind virus took away our hose drinking capabilities. We used to drink from the hose too, but we always let the water run for a few minutes to flush out the American nanobots. That's just smart. Before the news was filled with fear-mongering, exactly. Never anything on the news in those days about how things are dangerous and scary. That's a new phenomenon. My friends and I were out all day too because we weren't allowed to go home, so we meandered to each other's homes until we got kicked out into the streets again. It really is crazy. Like, the idea of like my kid like leaving my house and just like being outside for a few hours and me having no idea what was going on. Like, maybe maybe my brain's been colonized by like our phones and the connectivity and everything as well, but that's unfathomable to me. There's 0% chance I would ever be comfortable with that. Even if we were just living in a boring suburb, like we live in the city, so it is a little bit different. But I can't even imagine that. We actually had woods and sand pits and ponds and public spaces we were allowed to go to. That's a big thing as well, yeah. How many satanic panics have we lived through now? And yeah, and that's one thing that we talk about often, is that like the modern day like QAnon stuff is just rebranded satanic panic. It's still going on. You still have like conservative influencers now being like the devil. Oh, they're doing it's the devil. And it's like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, you're worried about like an actual monster. You're worried about an actual like scary monster threatening you. And you're like a grown adult. Like, what is the matter with you? That is so weird. I just got done with 3 hours unpaid overtime. I love capitalism. Well, PopCube, I think you should be paid for that. I think you should be paid for your overtime. What are we doing here? The Monster Energy Satan lady was peak satanic panic. But the thing is, like, she's still around. Like, that was a harbinger of, like, how the conservative movement was going. Like, now she's, like, an actual respected member in the conservative movement on this online world. Evangelical. Satanic panic is very Amera-brained. Exactly. It is. It's a strange place. A strange nation. A strange peoples. Deeply mentally unwell country. It's very true. I got out of a cop bothering me by appealing to the days when we could run around in creeks and such. Try it if you're doing something weird in public spaces. I can't say I'm up to that very much, but I will remember that for next time. Thanks for venting. It's because I fucked something up, so it's my fault anyways. Who cares if it's your fault? It's overtime. It's your fault. It's not your problem. People make mistakes. Who cares whose fault it is? You're supposed to be at work between certain hours. When your shift is over, you're finished. Have you read any Sapolsky? No, I have not. Should I? Gabe Sapolsky, the guy that started Ring of Honor, exactly. I'm reading Determined About We Don't Have Free Will. Very interesting, but a total mindfuck. It does sound interesting. You're going to have to report back about this. Only reason to take responsibility like that is if you're a major shareholder, even though they try to convince you that they'll let you go. Not your fault. I'm like Robin, when it comes to this, I worked overtime because I did something. It was my fault. I'm like Robin Williams in Good Will Hunting. It's not your fault. Hey. Chat, it's not your fault. Don't forget it's your work environment that fosters a place where it's acceptable or not to make mistakes. Astronauts, for instance, need this. Your work sucks. Exactly. Hello, ML Thoughtism. How's it going? If you weren't being overworked, you might not have made said mistake. Up the Reds. Very good point. Very good point. This is why Crywank is here. Exactly. We can't make mistakes, but management does something obviously boneheaded, and we lose our jobs. It's interesting who's allowed to make mistakes, isn't it? Who's allowed to make mistakes and not make mistakes? When you're like the president of the United States and you invade a country under false pretext, and you're like, oh, it turns out that was all false. Well, sorry. Millions died. And you're like, you know, we all make mistakes. It happens. Good. Out in 100-degree weather, cutting pipe and threading. It's amazing. That sounds very fun. That sounds very fun. That's just a little whoopsie doodle. Exactly. All U.S. presidents are war criminals. Could not agree more. Absolutely correct. Or if you're like a banking industry heavy hitter and you destroy the entire global economy with this like credit default swaps and fucked up corruption and like messed up financial transactions. Oh, so whoops. No consequences. They're just going to give you a bunch of money to go away. We're so mad about this that we're going to pay you a bunch of money so you go away and retire. Good day, sir. Boy, they've learned their lesson. As long as you don't have an Arabic-sounding name, you'll get off scot-free. Yes. Actually, we paid you for that. You're welcome. Yep. Well, folks, I am going to have to get going soon. It's past 3 hours. I've been on here on the air 3 hours here. I do have to go pick up my kid from school soon, and I want to make sure I give myself enough time to do that. Like I've been saying, he's starting at a new school this year. It's farther away. It's a bigger commute. This is why I'm trying to look into getting a car right now. It's very scary, you know? So I am going to be getting to going soon, but please, if you can, folks, subscribe. Floofers, I'm happy you showed up too. Please subscribe if you can. 3 subs to go. Help me make the little number.
You've just become an elite
there we
member
go. Look at that.
Of the friendship triangle.
Look at that. M Gauntlet, thanks for the 5 gifted subs. Very, very kind of you. It's September, folks.
You can count on me. You're going to have a good
no better time to support this program, and I'm really grinding away this month, trying to get to where I need to be. And Top Scruffy, thanks for the 40 months tier 1 as well. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for supporting me. Thanks for supporting this program. We love new friends here. Are there anybody else without all those tiny little images? You speak up now or forever hold your peace. If you're new to the community and you're looking for a sub, there's a chance that some brave, generous hero is going to hook you up and get all the tiny little images, some of the very best tiny little images on this platform.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Dr. Maggot, thanks for gifting a sub to Porta Ex Falso. Thank you, Dr. Maggot. Always appreciate the support. Thanks for tuning in as usual, folks. I really appreciate each and every one of you who tunes into this program and supports me in the work that I do on here. Should raid Kamala Harris's stream? I already initiated the raid to Humanist stream. If I had gotten that suggestion a moment ago, I may have done that. Actually, you know what? I'm sorry. I apologize to Humanist Report. I apologize. Please check out Humanist Report if you can. Okay? Good content creator. Okay? A good program. Fully support everyone following and supporting Humanist Report. Oh, this target has disabled raids. Oh, sorry. We can't. We can't do it. I tried. We were going to crash the party. We could have had some Rob knives in the chat to really get us all in trouble. I probably would have had the FBI calling me about that one. Only 465 viewers for their stream. It is pathetic. We can still do the Rob knives. You can if you want to, independently. Not that I support anyone doing that and posting any kind of threatening images in the vice president's chat or anybody's chat, frankly. I don't support it, but if you are a member of this community, that is something that you could do if you wanted to. Not something that I recommend or suggest. Anyway, I'll be back again tomorrow, folks. Okay? Thanks for joining the show. Thanks for supporting me. I really appreciate it a lot. I will be back. I will see you tomorrow. Take care. Talk to you soon. Goodbye.